From the moment they came onto the scene, Guns N' Roses seemed poised to take over the world as the most important rock band in a very long time. But the group struggled with internal turmoil and countless controversies soon after their popularity grew, leading to the departure of several key members in the 90s and the retreat of frontman Axl Rose away from the public eye for many years. Guns N' Roses' debut album, Appetite for Destruction, is hailed by many fans and critics as an 80s classic and one of, if not the best debut album in rock history. The band's recklessness became apparent soon after, resulting in the exit of many of its original members as years went by, culminating with the departure of guitarist Slash in the 90s, an event that started a bitter years-long feud between him and Axl. Despite being embroiled in controversy for much of its existence, Guns N' Roses has established a legacy of one of rock and roll's all-time greats, and remains one of the world's best-selling bands. So what's the story behind the rise, fall, and resurgence of Guns N' Roses? Keep watching as we dive into the history of the world's most dangerous band, from their explosive debut to the countless twists and turns that defined much of their career. Formation and appetite for destruction. Guns N' Roses quickly became global superstars shortly after they released their debut album, and within a couple years was recognized as one of the best rock bands in a long time. GNR is the result of a merger between the first iteration of the band LA Guns and glam metal band Hollywood Rose. Axl Rose and guitarist Izzy Stradlin were both members of the latter band, and Izzy lived with LA Guns' co-founder and guitarist Tracy Guns at the time. When LA Guns needed a new vocalist, Izzy suggested they hire Axl. Instead of having the singer become a member of LA Guns, they decided to form a new band altogether. Thus, Guns N' Roses was born in 1985 with the original lineup consisting of Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin and LA Guns members Tracy Guns, drummer Rob Gardner, and bassist Ole Bike. Shortly after their formation, Bike was replaced by Duff McKagan. Tracy left soon after due to a falling out with Axl, and the band brought in another former member of Hollywood Rose as his replacement, Saul Hudson, aka Slash. Gardner also left after a short while and was replaced by another Hollywood Rose alumnus, Steven Adler. With his entry into the band, the classic Guns N' Roses lineup was complete. They quickly made a name for themselves in Hollywood by playing gigs at famous clubs such as the Troubadour. Their performances caught the attention of Geffen Records, who signed them in March of '86. Their first ever release, Live Like a Suicide EP, came out in late 1986. After its release, the band returned to the studio in January 1987 to prepare their debut album. After around 6 months of recording, Guns N' Roses unleashed Appetite for Destruction on July 21, 1987. The album didn't chart highly at first, until the music video for the single Welcome to the Jungle blew up on MTV and became one of the channel's most requested videos. The following year, GNR released its next single, Sweet Child of Mine. It became the band's only chart-topping single in the US and one of their most popular songs. The ballad cemented GNR's place in the mainstream, and a couple months afterward, Appetite for Destruction reached the top spot of the Billboard 200, more than a year after its initial release. With their debut album, Guns N' Roses had broken through and immediately established themselves as the next big thing in rock and roll. Later in 1988, the band released their second album, GNR Lies. Although many consider it an album, it only consisted of 4 new songs which were acoustic recordings, while the tracks from the Live Like a Suicide EP comprised the other half. Nonetheless, the album's only single, Patience, was a hit and became one of the band's most well-known songs. Although the band enjoyed massive popularity during this time, their reckless behavior began catching the attention of the press, especially singer Axl Rose. The frontman assaulted several security guards during a 1987 show in Atlanta and was detained as a result. In 1989, while opening for the Rolling Stones, Axl launched into a tirade against critics who accused him of racism and homophobia due to the lyrics of the song One in a Million. Later during that set, the singer threatened to leave the band if the members didn't stop dancing with Mr. Brownstone, referring to a song of theirs that was about drug use. Despite these incidents, GNR continued to be a popular live act. The Use Your Illusion era. The 90s was a pivotal decade for Guns N' Roses. Drummer Steven Adler was fired in 1990 due to persistent drug use which affected his playing. The band brought in Matt Sorum, who used to play for The Cult, to be his replacement. The following year, the band added keyboardist Dizzy Reed to their lineup, signaling that the band was heading in a new musical direction. This style was showcased on their twin albums, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, both of which were released on September 17, 1991. Although many songs on these albums were written back in the 80s, it took them a few more years to record them and get them on an album. Both albums showed the band exploring progressive rock territory with longer compositions and significant use of the piano. Despite the slight change in style, both albums charted highly. Use Your Illusion 2 debuted at number 1 on the Billboard charts, while its counterpart, Use Your Illusion 1, debuted right behind it at number 2. Guns N' Roses embarked on the Use Your Illusion tour to support the album, which spanned 2 years and close to 200 shows across the world. While it was a financial success, it's also notable for numerous incidents and controversies, including the departure of guitarist Izzy Stradlin in late 1991. He was replaced by Gilby Clarke. One of the more famous incidents in the band's career occurred a few months earlier during a show in St. Louis, while Axl attacked a fan who was recording the show while in the middle of performing Rocket Queen. Axl and the fan were pulled apart, after which the singer halted the entire concert and stormed off the stage. The abrupt ending frustrated many fans, resulting in a riot. But that wasn't the only riot that came from the tour. In 1992, during the Guns N' Roses Metallica Stadium Tour, Metallica guitarist and singer James Hetfield was injured in a pyro accident on stage, forcing the band to call off the rest of their set. Meanwhile, Guns N' Roses arrived late on stage, and the band members faced numerous technical problems, while Axl dealt with a bad throat that affected his performance. After a few songs, Axl left the stage, and the rest of the band followed. This sparked a massive riot that spilled out into the streets, resulting in arrests and thousands of dollars in damages. Despite these incidents, the Use Your Illusion tour had its moments, including the band performing at Wembley during the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 1992. It's considered one of the longest concert tours in rock and elevated Guns N' Roses' popularity around the world. Self-implosion and retreat from the public eye. In 1993, GNR released a covers album titled The Spaghetti Incident, featuring covers from the band such as The Damned, The Stooges, Misfits, Nazareth, and even the Skyliners. It performed well commercially, despite the band not touring to support it. However, it would be the last album to feature any original GNR members besides Axl. The recklessness of the band was catching up to them and causing more internal dissent than ever, mostly due to Axl's authoritarian control over things. In 1995, Gilby Clarke was fired from the band. Slash stated that Axl fired the guitarist without consulting his bandmates. Axl brought guitarist Paul "Huge" Tobias as the band's second guitarist, with whom the band recorded a cover of the Rolling Stones classic Sympathy for the Devil in 1994, which was featured in the film Interview with a Vampire. This would be the last recording by GNR to feature Slash, Duff McKagan, and Matt Sorum. Slash would later state that the recording is the sound of a band breaking up. Slash and Tobias did not get along well, and this, coupled with the friction between him and Axl, led to Slash's departure from the band in October 1996. He was replaced by Robin Fink at the start of 1997. In April of that year, Matt Sorum was ejected from the band, with Josh Freese taking over the drums. The last of the classic GNR lineup, Duff McKagan, quit in August 1997 and was replaced by Tommy Stinson. The new GNR and Chinese Democracy. The band did not make any live performances for the remainder of the 90s, as Axl restructured the band while more members came and went, such as former Primus drummer Brian Mantia and guitarist Buckethead. Guns N' Roses returned to the stage in 2001, where they performed new songs from the album Chinese Democracy, which was still being made then. In 2002, the new Guns N' Roses lineup performed at the MTV Music Video Awards, playing a medley of Welcome to the Jungle, the new song Madagascar, and Paradise City. The band continued working on Chinese Democracy, and over the next few years, more members came in to replace those who left, such as guitarist DJ Ashba and Ron Bumblefoot Thal. After years of waiting, Guns N' Roses released Chinese Democracy in November 2008. It represented a stylistic shift from the traditional GNR sound by incorporating more industrial rock influences, but was nonetheless welcomed by many fans after a long period of waiting. Not in This Lifetime. In 2012, members of Guns N' Roses, from the Appetite for Destruction to the Use Your Illusion eras, except Gilby Clarke, were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Everyone but Axl attended the ceremony, and the singer even released a letter where he declined his induction and explained why he wouldn't be attending. Nonetheless, Axl was inducted, but he didn't perform with the band at the ceremony due to his absence. Instead, Alter Bridge vocalist and guitarist Miles Kennedy performed with the band. Guns N' Roses, under Axl's leadership, continued to tour and perform, but over the next few years, more members left the band. Finally, in late 2015, it was confirmed that Slash and Duff McKagan would be returning to GNR. Slash's return in particular was one of the hottest news in the music scene at the time, as it marked the end of a bitter rivalry between him and Axl that spanned 20 years. The partially reunited classic lineup headlined the Coachella Music Festival in January 2016. In April of that year, Guns N' Roses embarked on the Not in This Lifetime tour. Its name came from a 2012 interview where Axl responded, "Not in this lifetime," after being asked if he would ever reunite with Slash. The tour spanned 2 years and was a massive success. It now stands as the second highest grossing tour of all time, just behind the U2 360 tour. Today, Guns N' Roses is composed of Axl Rose, Slash, Duff McKagan, and Dizzy Reed, plus second guitarist Richard Fortus and drummer Frank Ferrer, and second keyboardist Melissa Reese, the first female member of the band. Since the partial reunion, GNR has released 2 new songs, the first recordings to feature Slash and Duff since 1994. The return of classic members revitalized GNR as a whole, which is exactly what this legendary band needed. And for the first time in years, fans eagerly await what the future holds for Guns N' Roses.